Right, what is up, guys? You join me on a nice hot day. I've overdressed, I'm too warm. It's currently 6 o'clock in the evening, but it's still quite warm here. And I thought I'd quickly give you a quick run through my top tips when it comes to motorcycle touring. I've got a tour coming up in a week and a half, so not very long. Taking this MT10 to sort of Germany, France. Gonna go on to the old B500 and Black Forest and all around that sort of area. So I thought I would bring you through the journey of it, as I've mentioned in a previous video, as to how I prepare this bike. I thought I'd give you some tips, as I get a lot of questions on the touring videos. I get a lot of questions on, you know, what's the best list? What is your... I had a really good question. It's like, what's the one thing you wish you'd taken and the one thing you wish you hadn't? Which I thought was a really good question, and it stumped me, and I had no idea, if I'm honest with you, how to answer it. Because there's so many vital things that you need on a tour. There's like things that you take as precaution, and then there's things that you take which really do make like a small but really nice difference. For example, take a 5mm or 10mm visor cleaning spray with a rag, because you get so many bugs and insects when you're covering like hundreds of miles a day. And every time you stop for a coffee or fuel, you just grab the rag. You can share it between a group of you, and you can clean your visor so it's brand new again, and it makes a very nice little difference. But anyhow, let's get into the main crux of the video after this intro. Let's start with the route. So first thing I would say is plan where you want to go. How many days have you got to play with? So for example, I have 7 days to play with when we're going away, and the best way I've found from previous experience of planning that trip is working your way sort of back. So how far are you going to get to? How long is it going to take you? If that's the goal. If you want to go as far as possible, then obviously by the halfway point of you getting there, you're going to have to turn around. So the first day is probably going to be taken up just getting to sort of like a nice bit, a nice area. So we used the first day, and I think last year we covered 575 miles on day one. So really strap in and really get the mileage done on the first day. Then you're maximising the time you have there to play around with, and then do the same on the way back. But you're obviously, if you're doing a bit of a circle, you'll be heading on the way back anyway. So dedicate the last day just to get home, because you're probably going to want to get home at that point. You'll be a week of sweaty motorcycle riding. And I think a top tip for me would be to wear and prepare for like good weather and bad weather. You've got, depending what time of the year you're going, like obviously it's going to vary on where you're going in the world, but we usually go in the summer. But it's heading into winter, so late summer, early winter. But this year we're going in peak summer. It's currently 30 degrees in Colmar, I think is the first place we're stopping off at, and it's currently 30 degrees there. So a big tip for me would be to take really good base layers. You can buy really decent base layers from like a variety of different places. I've just bought these base layers called Zero Fit. I think it's Zero Fit. They're quite a well-known brand. They're quite expensive, to be fair. They were like 50 quid for just a top, which is actually mental. But when I tried these things on, they're skin tight. I tried them on and I was instantly freezing. So I'm taking those with me to wear under my leathers. I think it'd be really beneficial to do. And equally, if you're going somewhere cold, you want some warm base layers. Yeah, clothing, the weather. The weather's going to be a big deal. You're going to, fingers crossed, it's going to be nice wherever you're going. But I would 100% recommend taking some waterproofs. That includes waterproof gloves, top, jacket, and also boots. Because if you have wet feet when you're touring for the entire day, it's probably the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. You definitely don't want to have to be worried about drying your kids out at the end of the day, so take waterproof gear just in case. Hopefully you won't have to use it, but I've used it every year I've been away to Europe, and that's including, you know, summer sort of travel as well. I usually wear, like I said, a good base layer every day. I'd pack as light as possible. I'd take a pair of shorts, a pair of trousers, 3 or 4 t-shirts, and I wash the t-shirts when I'm at a hotel. The only thing I'll change every day is like underwear, because you know you want fresh underwear, and unless you want to wash it every day in a sink, it's not really the most nicest thing to wash like that. A shirt you can generally get away with, or a pair of shorts. But yeah, that's how I pack, and that's the sort of clothing I take. I pack as minimal as I can, because the maximum amount of space you want in your top box, I take a 40, I think it's a 42 litre top box I take with me, and I also have a little Krieger US 20 litre bag as well. So yeah, packing light is a key thing. The clothing you're going to wear is going to be quite important. I've had a couple of different tours now where I've taken away a nice comfy GS, and I go on a nice sporty holiday every year as well, where I take this bike and we, you know, you're riding a bit more aggressively through the mountains and stuff. So depending on the sort of type of tour you're doing would depend on the sort of clothing you can take with you for the riding. I took a real nice sort of textile ventilated jacket and trousers with me when I went on the my GS tour, you could say. But when I go away on this and I need that extra protection, I'm wearing leathers. In my opinion, nothing really beats leathers, so that's what I'm taking. One thing I would definitely recommend you do, look at the first couple of hotels that you're going to stay at. This is a thing we like to do, just to, it takes a lot of stress out of the day, and once those hotels have been booked, you know, you're going to have a rough idea of where you're going. But if you do want to just freelance it and just wake up one morning and decide, oh, today we're going to go here, or today I'm going to go there, then yeah, just book it before you get there, because once you get to the destination, at the end of a day of riding, there is nothing worse than having sort of being in limbo. I've seen tempers fray over the littlest of things, and all anyone wants to do is get off their bike, out of their leathers. You're probably going to be in a city, so the bike's going to be like 100 degrees between your legs. You're going to be sweating one out in your leathers, and you just want to get off and get a cold beer. No beer tastes better, or lager, than a day after a motorcycle, a day in the saddle on a motorcycle. It's honestly one of the greatest beers you will ever drink, because it's freezing cold, you've just showered, and you're just feeling great. So make sure you book the hotel before you get to the destination. Thoroughly would recommend doing that. I remember pulling up in, I think it was Reims, with a few of my mates, and we obviously couldn't get the barrier open to get into the hotel car park, and oh my god, people were getting, tempers were up there. And it was just a barrier. Honestly, it's worth it. Right, let's talk about luggage. Luggage is an interesting one. I've done a couple of reviews on luggage before, so I've had both. I've had a really expensive luggage option, and I've had a really cheap one. Now, I went with a Givi top box, and I've got a aluminium top box with, you know, metal attachments which go on top of it, which is like a monarchy system or whatever. And that's an expensive thing. I think it's like $350, something like that. But you could just go on AliExpress and buy a top box system for about, I don't know, 80 quid, something like that. So figuring out which one is best, they both have pros and cons. Like, the Givi is by far superior in every way, but the AliExpress, now that for 50 or 60 quid, it's pretty good, it does the job, but you can't take it off, it's a ball ache to take it off, it's made of like just, you know, reinforced plastic. The key is not as strong, the lock you could break with probably just fingers, it's not very strong at all. So I would actually invest in a proper one. It's the best way. Yeah, think about your luggage options, because there's a lot of them out there, and I would just suggest biting the bullet and get an expensive, decent quality one that will last you forever. You can always keep the top box and you can change this part here. So, worth it, in my opinion. Navigation. Fucking hell, what are they cooking in Burger King? Navigation wise, you got a couple of options. Obviously, you could just use your phone. I use my phone. You could just use an Apple app, or you could download like Beeline or Kalimoto. They all work. I use Beeline to go away, and I use my phone for it, but you could just use their little app system. They have a little dongle that you can put on your bars, and it's really good, really effective, quite neat, but also quite expensive. But have a good think about what you're going to use to navigate around this place. The one thing I like with Beeline is you can choose like a twisty route versus a hard route, and you can customize it quite a lot, which is pretty good for like touring and like enjoying the roads, and then, you know, actually wanting to get somewhere fast if you have to. There's always the age-old question of tyres. What tyres should you take? Should they be new? How long will they last? It's very tricky. I had a set of S23s on my MT10, and I got to Geneva, I think. I went down to Nice and back up, and I got to Geneva, and then the bike obviously broke down, so they didn't get a full trip out of them. And I was a bit umming and ahhing whether I should risk it or not, but in all honesty, you should just get a new set, or if you, depending on what tyres they are, but if you're going for a sporty sort of ride, you're probably not going to get that many miles out of a sports tyre, so be mindful of how many miles you're getting out of whatever tyres you've got, and plan ahead. If you're going to do 2,000 miles, you know, it's quite a lot for a motorcycle tyre, so have you got enough tread? It's always worthwhile thinking about what the bike's going to need also. For example, are you going to need some chain lube? I can almost guarantee you will. I think you're meant to do your chain every, what, 200 miles or something like that. People probably, I don't know the exact number, but it's not very often when you're on a bike tour. I think we do them every time we stop for the day. So we could have a 200-mile day. We'll just give them a bit of lube at the end of the day, give them a little bit of a wipe, give them a freshen up, because they will need it when you're on tour. So make sure you take some chain lube, some basic tools, puncture repair kit obviously, because I have seen them used. We have used a puncture repair kit before. But we always take one that's got a gas canister in it. They won't fill the tyre up, but it will get you enough so it doesn't come off the bead, and that you can get you to the, you know, you can hobble to a petrol station or something. But yes guys, that's pretty much the basics. I mean, there's all sorts of other stuff. I'll share on the screen now the list that we actually use, including the stupid stuff, but hopefully it helps you out. But there's always other stuff you can take if it might seem more vital to you. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like, consider giving me a sub, and I shall catch you on the next one. Ciao for now.